Warnings of more severe weather tonight across southern and eastern England as heavy downpours cause flash flooding and widespread travel disruption.
You can help us win this battle, America. Call your representative up. Call these Republicans up on the phone and tell them we want to vote.
Drama in the US Congress as Democratic politicians hold a 25-hour sit-in for tighter gun controls after the Orlando shootings. Euros violence, police hunt more than 70 England fans suspected of being involved in clashes with rival supporters in Marseille. The leaders of both campaigns in the EU referendum cast their votes, along with millions of others. Oscar Pistorius insists his girlfriend, who he killed more than 3 years ago, would want him to have a normal life. And stairway to more royalties. A court in LA rules that Led Zepp did not steal the riff to rock anthem Stairway to Heaven. Good evening. There's a warning tonight of more torrential rain and thunderstorms across parts of southern and eastern England. Well, a month of rain fell in just a few hours in some parts overnight, flooding homes and causing widespread travel disruption as roads and railways were left underwater. Well, an amber be prepared warning for rain is now in place this evening for the east of England, London and the south. Also a yellow be aware warning for the East Midlands and South East England until tomorrow. The Environment Agency has now issued 16 flood warnings covering rivers in London and Essex, with 46 flood alerts for the south east. Indeed, a number of rivers in the region have hit their highest level on record in the past 24 hours. Romford in Essex has been one of the worst affected areas, and from there, Sky's Sarah Haji-Bagheri sent us this report.
Welcome to the Great British Summer in Romford. It might be June, but that didn't stop the torrential rain and flooding that swamped parts of London and the southeast. We found John wading through his home.
It was up against the back door, so you couldn't even open the back doors, because the moment you opened the back doors, it would have flooded in, but once it got underneath the house, it just flooded up. And as you can see from the walls, it's 2-3 foot high indoors, and it was in within 15-20 minutes up to that level.
And it seems like it's sewage water.
It is sewage. You can smell it, you can see it. If you look on the floor, you can see how dark the water remnants are. It is pure sewage.
Next door, Charlie had started the painful and slow clean-up. He woke up to this. The road outside was a river, and the sofa was floating in the living room. He did his best to protect all he could.
We just knew everything was going to be destroyed, so we kind of saved what we could all around, but by 15 minutes the water had rose so much, like all our little family photos and little memories that we kept have just been swept away and just been destroyed.
Amongst the floodwater and the sewage, there's frustration at the lack of help.
What are we paying our national insurance and our tax for and our council tax for? I know everyone's affected, and I'm not saying I'm the priority of the borough or anything like that, but when the road's flooded beyond belief and people are driving through and knocking down fences, then someone should be here. And when we've still got 3 foot of water in the garden and under the house, they should be here to pump it out. That's what we pay them for.
Last night's storm was caught in all its glory by camera phones. Chaos followed, not just in homes. On the roads, commuters struggled through the water. Between 1:30 and 3 this morning, London Fire Brigade got 300 calls. Now that's how many calls they'd expect for a whole day. And with the weather forecast predicting more rain, there's a lot of anxiety that more houses like this might be underwater. The authorities remain on high alert after an unprecedented 24 hours.
The key for us is that people stay safe and prioritise people over property. If you have family or pets, we suggest you move them upstairs. We suggest you stay indoors where possible. With flooding becoming all the more frequent, so too is this scene. A classic English rose, drowned by a soggy English summer. Sarah Haji-Bagheri, Sky News, Romford.
Now, we're used to seeing dramatic scenes in Parliament, but a protest by Democratic politicians in America caused havoc today in the US Congress. The group, who want tougher gun controls after the Orlando shootings, spent more than 24 hours camped on the floor of the House, bolstered by pillows and pizza. Well, the Speaker, Paul Ryan, who cut off cameras broadcasting the demonstration, described their actions as a publicity stunt. Tonight, a plan to ban firearm sales to those people being monitored for links to terrorism has been blocked by the upper house, the Senate. From Washington, Sky's US correspondent Cordelia Lynch now reports.
You can help us win this battle, America. Call your representative up. Call these Republicans up on the phone and tell them we want to vote. America, you can win this battle tonight for us.
House will be in order.
A surreal scene as remarkable as it was unruly. Democrats holding pictures alongside the names of the dead, demanding a vote on gun control.
But the chair would hope that the business of the House could be conducted in a fashion that respects positively on the dignity and the decorum of this institution to which we all belong.
We lost too many of our children, our babies, too many of our mothers and fathers, our brothers and sisters, and we will continue to fight.
It was an act of political theatre, fuelled by frustration, sustained by a late-night pizza delivery.
Can't win a big fight on an empty stomach.
As the TV cameras were cut, a generation who fought for civil rights used a modern method to relay their message. Grabbing their smartphones and broadcasting the sit-in themselves. Outside, the paradox of America played out. There is widespread public support for tougher background checks and restricting the sale of firearms to people on terrorism watch lists. But few are optimistic.
I'm not sure what's going to make any sort of a difference in American politics at this point.
Do you think it will achieve any?
No.
Why?
It just won't. I mean, it's just the way things are. It's just not going to achieve anything, one way or the other. They'll just sit for like the time until something takes its place, or they get tired, or we don't get problems solved easily around here.
The massacre in Orlando may have been the tipping point, but the partisan divide appears to be deepening here, and the political dynamic showing little sign of change. Cordelia Lynch, Sky News, Washington.
Police have released images of more than 70 England football fans suspected of being involved in what's being described as orchestrated violence at the Euro 2016 tournament in France. Well, bottles and chairs were used as weapons as rival supporters clashed in Marseille on the opening weekend. 2 England fans are still in a serious condition in hospital after the attacks. Our sports correspondent Paul Kelso has this report.
They were the most violent scenes of disorder seen at an England football match in almost 20 years. Now British police have released footage of clashes in Marseille on the opening weekend of Euro 2016 in an appeal for information to help identify those responsible on all sides. English and Russian fans and some locals were involved in violence on the streets. And inside the Stade Velodrome, Russian hooligans charged English supporters, causing panic. Police want to identify 73 England fans suspected of offences, including throwing bottles at opposing supporters and police and using street furniture as weapons. If convicted, they could be banned from attending football matches at home and abroad.
We want to get all evidence possible to support the French in their investigations to identify the people who committed really serious assaults on British nationals in Marseille. Certainly there's 2 counts of those that they're treating as attempted murder. The second strand of it is to identify English supporters who behaved really badly, both disorderly conduct but also acts of violence in Marseille. So we're identifying those from social media footage, our own spotter footage, so that when those people return to the UK, we can seek banning orders.
"14 England supporters were treated in hospital after clashes with what French prosecutors described as an ultra-violent Russian hooligan gang. 2 remain in a serious condition. Andrew Bash from Portsmouth suffered a cardiac arrest, brain injuries and a lung infection after being attacked, allegedly with an iron bar. And police are appealing for help identifying those who assaulted Stuart Gray from Leicestershire, who was left in a coma after being attacked in the Rue Fort Notre Dame area on the afternoon of Saturday, June the 11th. Police have no footage of what happened to him and want anyone who can help to contact them. Thousands of England supporters are expected back in France this weekend for their last 16 game against Iceland in Nice. Wales, Wales, Wales. And they will join fans of Wales, Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, whose teams are all still in the tournament. After this appeal, England fans will know they are on notice. If their team reach the semi-final, it will be played in Marseille. Paul Kelso, Sky News in Paris.
A man's been sentenced to 18 years in prison for the attempted murder of his pregnant partner, who was repeatedly stabbed when she was attacked in the street. 41-year-old Baba Karamat Raja from Sutton Coldfield pleaded guilty last month to charges of attempted child destruction and the wounding of 2 passers-by. Detective Constable Ruth Body gave a statement on behalf of the victim. A gunman has been shot dead by police after taking people hostage at a cinema complex in southwest Germany. Shots were heard as the man reportedly barricaded himself inside the cinema complex in the town of Viernheim. Initial reports suggested up to 50 people were hurt, but police later said there were no injuries. A tornado in eastern China has killed at least 78 people and destroyed a number of buildings. It hit near Yangsheng city, around 200 miles north of Shanghai. China's southern and eastern states have been battered by weeks of torrential rain and storms, which have caused flooding and dozens of casualties. A jury in Los Angeles has found that Led Zeppelin did not steal the riff to their rock anthem Stairway to Heaven. The band had been accused of plagiarism by the American group Spirit. They said that Led Zeppelin had copied their song Taurus. But the court found that the 2 songs were not intrinsically similar. Oscar Pistorius has insisted that his girlfriend, who he killed more than 3 years ago, would want him to have a normal life. The Olympian is due to be sentenced in less than 2 weeks for the murder of Riva Steenkamp. He's given an extraordinary television interview about what happened and his rehabilitation, as our senior correspondent Ian Woods now reports.
His defence, backed by a psychologist, say Oscar Pistorius is a broken man, so traumatised that he was unable to testify at his pre-sentencing hearing this month. But shortly before his last court appearance, he did give several interviews to ITV about the killing of his girlfriend Riva Steenkamp and the aftermath.
I'm screaming, and I'm just praying for the Lord. I'm like, oh God, please, 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 please. And I opened the toilet door, and immediately when I saw Riva, she was over the toilet. She'd slumped over the toilet, and I thought at that point I knew that I'd killed her. I knew that she was dead, and I went down on my knees and pulled her onto me.
Pistorius did testify at his original trial, albeit off camera. There he was found guilty of manslaughter, a charge later upgraded to murder following an appeal. But his failure to submit to cross-examination at his hearing makes the TV interview all the more controversial, and it could backfire.
It could be that that footage is admitted as evidence to support the fact that he's unrepentant, that he has not accepted the judgment, and that he is still questioning the judgment itself. And that lack of remorse should be taken into account to increase the amount of time that he will spend in jail.
Riva Steenkamp's father spoke about the pain of her death and how it has affected his health. But Oscar Pistorius claimed she wouldn't have wanted to see him imprisoned.
I don't want to go back to jail. No, I don't want to have to waste my life sitting there. If I was afforded the opportunity at redemption, I would like to help the less fortunate like I had in my past. I would like to believe that if Riva could look down upon me, that she would want me to live that life.
An author who followed the athletics career and the trial of Oscar Pistorius says the interview shows how far he's fallen.
This armour plating he built around himself, not just as a sportsman, but as a person. And since he killed Riva Steenkamp, that armour plating had just dissolved away, and all that remains is a sort of bare, vulnerable, sort of naked amputee. And that in itself is immensely crushing, plus the fact that he's now going to face jail. And I think he's going to struggle immensely to deal with that.
In the programme, he removes his prosthetic legs to show his lack of stability and vulnerability, just as he was on the night of the shooting. A demonstration his lawyer got him to repeat in court. He'll be sentenced on July the 6th. Ian Woods, Sky News.
Voters have been taking part in Britain's historic EU referendum. Less than an hour to go now before the polls close across the country. David Cameron, one of the first of the campaign leaders to cast his vote this morning in Westminster, while the Justice Secretary, Michael Gove, voted in West London alongside his journalist wife, Sarah Vine. Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn also visiting his local polling station in North London. And UKIP leader Nigel Farage cast his vote near his home in North Kent. Well, there are 382 voting areas in total across the UK. Now, they're made up of 380 local authorities for England, Wales and Scotland, Northern Ireland actually counting as one area. Well, the voting began early in Gibraltar, which is included in the southwest region for this referendum. The polls there, the first to open at 6 this morning UK time, and also the first to close. They've already shut at 9 p.m, about 15 minutes ago. But across the UK, the rest of the polls opened at 7 this morning, will close at 10 tonight, counting then starting as soon as possible after the polls close. Well, 46.5 million people eligible to vote. And Manchester is where that national count is based, with the final result being declared tomorrow, Friday morning, by the Electoral Commission Chair, Jenny Watson, the Chief Counting Officer for the referendum. Political editor Faisal Islam in Downing Street following all the events. And Faisal, we were reflecting, it's another slice of political history. The last time this happened, it was the European Economic Community back in 1975. You helpfully indicated you weren't born yet, even though it was the first time I voted in a referendum.
Yeah, 41 years ago was the last time this type of vote happened across the United Kingdom, and we have a record electorate, as you indicated, and for this vote, across from every corner of the United Kingdom, people have been voting in their millions, all the way down to Gibraltar, where polls have closed. If you haven't voted, you've got about 42 minutes to get to a polling station, and it should be said, anybody in the queue at that time will get to vote, as long as you're in the queue before 10 o'clock. But this is a moment of history. The count will begin at 10. There'll be that traditional, customary race for the first declaration. Sunderland, Scilly Islands, Gibraltar, all in with a chance of giving that first indication of where voters' preferences lie. But then we've got a long night ahead of us, where the big results coming in 3 a.m, 4 a.m, and that big final result, although indications of result may have appeared before that, the big final official result being announced at Manchester Town Hall. We don't know at what time, perhaps around breakfast time, but if it's close, then perhaps a little bit later.
Now, we've been reflecting that some areas enjoyed sunshine, others didn't. Indeed, it affected the polling stations in some areas here in the southeast, even though they were still able to vote.
Yes, in the southeast, in parts of London, Kingston, I think, in parts of East London too, big torrential rains that led to floods. I think you can see a car park flooded. We're hearing stories of people being carried across flooded car parks in order to vote. It does seem as if, despite these terrible conditions, people were able to exercise their franchise, so that's good news, but we'll look out for any stories where that isn't the case. Should be said, this is a regional phenomenon. When we were pointing out the weather problems in London and the southeast, others in the northwest in Manchester saying it's been very sunny, so let's not say this is a national picture.
Indeed, but we will get the national picture, of course, later. Faisal, for the moment in Downing Street, thank you for that, because Adam is hosting our special programme as the polls close. Shortly, he's going to be on air at 9:30. We'll be live at counts across the United Kingdom. Analysis then throughout the night as the votes are counted. Decision time coming up with Adam Bolton here at 9:30 on Sky News. Also coming up here on Sky News Tonight. Sky News has learned that just 1 out of 11 major musical festivals will have more police this year, despite a warning they could be a target for terrorists. Well, it follows concerns raised by senior counter-terrorism officers that such events may be vulnerable. Our arts and entertainment correspondent Lucy Cotter reports.
As the festival season kicks off in earnest, searches like this will be routine at sites across the country. But this year, the process is perhaps more important than ever.
Making sure that there's no large queues forming. You know, if we see anything starting to get too long, then we'll let everybody know that it's getting a bit too long.
Here at the Isle of Wight, the control room coordinates security across the festival, with experts from all the major emergency services working together. This year, one of the scenarios they planned for was a terrorist attack.
I think we'd be very foolish not to be worried about the increased terrorist threat. I think I'm comfortable that we have the right procedures in place to manage and deal with any threat that might manifest itself, as much as any organisation or indeed large event can in the UK at the moment.
The Met Police has recently warned that stadiums and big music events are particularly vulnerable after the attacks in Paris, with the officer in charge of the country's protective security saying crowded places have always been a concern for us, and now they are right at the top of the agenda.
We contacted 11 of the police forces where the biggest festivals are being held, including Glastonbury. Only one confirmed they will be increasing policing around their festival and have sought the advice of counter-terrorism advisors. Crisis management expert Chris Webb says the threat is not being taken seriously enough.
The entertainment industry have somewhat buried their head in the sand and actually don't appreciate, do not realise or accept the current threat that this country is facing, especially attacks on crowded places. And they really need to wake up. They really need to look at the current threat, what senior police officers have said. They really need to look at attacks that have occurred elsewhere in Europe and in America. And they really need to actually prepare for that worst case scenario.
Security at festivals, is that something that ever crossed your mind?
No. Not until now, but no, I'm not worried.
I think it's just about being cautious and aware, but not letting that spoil what you're doing, otherwise you're giving in.
Not worried. In London probably, but I haven't really thought about it for here.
No, I feel quite safe here. Like,
yeah.
There's so many security around, so much police presence.
So for most, the increased threat level will have little or no impact, and the music will continue to take centre stage as it should do. Lucy Cotter, Sky News.
You're watching Sky News. Coming up in a few moments, Adam Bolton hosts our special programme on the EU referendum results. That's Decision Time with Adam Bolton, coming up next here on Sky News.